On today's edition of the Break of Dawn newspaper review, the station is 32 FM 94.9, your Fenya station. I am Olutayo, Ogunade, and it's time to go through the papers and, of course, intimate you on development across the country and beyond. Good morning to you, Gbolabo.
Good morning, Tayo, and I'm Gbolabo, Famous School. It's great to have you on the platform this morning. All right, I have the Daily Trust newspaper, the Punch, the Sun newspaper, and of course, I also have the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Let me start off with the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. This morning, there are quite a number of headlines here. Above the main plates of the paper, it says, Court restrains DSS EFCC from arresting CBN governor. And of course, here also says, Buhari justifies $400 million spent on rescue at Jalkuta Steel, inaugurates project in Kogi, and that story is on page 29 this morning. Litigation, governor stands, delay announcement of next Alaafin song, and of course that story is also on page 29 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. Fourth Mainland Bridge, Lagos announces CCEECC, and of course it also says consortium as preferred bidder. You can get details on page 25 of the paper. And of course, above the main story for the day, it says Pele, Brazilian football legend, dies at 82. Right, and that story is on page 31 this morning. G5 dares PDP, or Tom says no agreement with Tinubu, and you can get details on page 29. And of course, moving to the bottom strip of the paper this morning, and let's see what we have here. Bolanle Rahim, NBA seeks 5 billion naira damages swift prosecution of killer policeman, and the writer is saying Sanwo-Olu promises no cover-up in investigations and of course prosecution. Police release picture of killer cop, and that story is on page 27 this morning. We also have here banditry, take up arms and defend yourselves. Bauchi governor charges villagers, and the writer simply says killing by bandit is enough, and that's on page 12, and that's too much from the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning.
Take a look at Premium Times. Ekiti Tribunal upholds Governor Oyebanji's election. Ekiti governorship election, Oni rejects tribunal judgment, vows to appeal. Terrorists abduct village head, 2 others in Katsina. Explosion rocks Kogi minutes before Buhari's visit. Bolanle Rahim, NBA demands 5 billion naira compensation for slain lawyer's family. Still from there, court stops SSS from arresting harassing CBN governor Emefiele. Buhari in Kogi says Jalkuta Steel Company to generate $1.6 billion annually. Obasanjo mourns Ohanaeze Ndigbo President Obiozor. Consultant accuses Osun lawmakers of demanding $5 million bribe over water project. Atiku Obi mourns Ohanaeze President, and 10,000 new police recruits to be deployed for 2023 elections. IGP.
And of course, the This Day newspaper this morning also has a number of headlines. And above the main plate, it says court bars DSS from inviting, arresting, detaining, prosecuting Emefiele. And of course, we have some writers here right on the front page of the This Day newspaper. And this also says, tribunal to Oni, it says, your petition fails woefully, upholds Oyebanji's election. And of course, that's tribunal to Oni here. Buhari, what leaders mourn as football legend Pele dies at 82. Buhari, that's the big story. It says we have delivered on all our campaign promises. And of course, still on the front page of the This Day newspaper, the writer is also saying, says Jalkuta Steel Complex ready for concession and has gulped over $400 million. Inaugurates reference hospital, 5 order projects executed by Kogi government. And that is coming from the This Day newspaper this morning.
From Daily Trust newspaper, Brazilian football legend Pelé is dead. Human traffickers now use ECOWAS travel certificate to evade arrest. NIS. Take that again. Human traffickers now use ECOWAS travel certificate to evade arrest. 4 killed as explosion hits Kogi Monarch's Palace. Another one here from Daily Trust. Buhari pays tribute to Ohanaeze President General. Reps to ASU, but Jabiamila didn't deceive you. Nigerian refugees turned taxi drivers sacked from Niger Republic. Terrorists kill 14, abduct 81 in Sokoto, Katsina. Still from Daily Trust, from the business side, 2022 flopped electricity target, acute petrol scarcity amid rate hikes, was suspicious of how police handles lane lawyer's case. NBA president, Kwara governorship, how parties candidates stand. Fire guts Ogun markets, Lagos records 46 emergencies in 2 days. Ogun Assembly passes 472 billion naira 2023 budget. And IPAC kicks against plans to appoint local government caretaker chairman in Gombe.
The Nation newspaper this morning is saying right above the template, Lagos names preferred bidders for 4th mainland bridge, and that story is on page 2. 30 billion naira for senators' reps severance package in 2023 budget, and you can get details on page 4. Football legend Pele dies at 82. Defend yourselves against bandits, says Governor. Naseni partners firm, and those stories on page 4, 3, and 8 of the paper this morning. Still on the front page of the Nation newspaper, and this also says Tribunal upholds Ekiti Governor Oyebande's victory, and that's on page 3. Mass burial for victims. Right, still on the front page of the paper, that's the Nation newspaper. Mass burial for 7 victims, and that story is on page 3. Tributes pour in for Ohaneze Chief Obiozo, and the writer says Buhari, Obasanjo, Tinubu, Atiku, others salute ex-US ambassador. And we also have here Abiodun signs 472 billion naira 2023 budget into law. You can get details on page 3 this morning. The big story here says G5 governors position puts Atiku in tighter corner. And the writer is also telling us why PDP candidate can't seek elders' intervention. Don't sanction Wike, others are saying that. And of course, at the bottom strip, it says Buhari Lords, Bello on security projects in Kogi. You can also get details on page 4. At the bottom strip still, Sanwo-Olu IG promise open probe in Rahim's murder. Court also stops Emefiele's arrest. Those stories on page 3 and page 2 of the paper this morning.
Let's see a few headlines here from The Guardian before we go on our first commercial. Again, court bars DSS orders from harassing, inviting, arresting Emefiele. Wike G5 mules over final notice to argue Southern Governor's Lagos declaration. Buhari justifies $400 million spent to revive ASC, and as Ajakuta Steel Company and US, Europe, China in race for Africa's scramble for continent begins. Banks face angry customers as network glitches mar holidays. We're going to first commercial. We'll be back.
FM 94.9.
I go follow the man ways, I be the road, oh. I go follow the man ways, I be the walk, oh. I go follow the man way, go unite the people. Unify, I go follow the man way, go rescue the nation. I go vote Atiku, Mr. Unifier. I don't articulate, oh, articulate, oh. I don't articulate, oh, articulate, oh. I don't articulate, oh, articulate.
PDP! Power to the people! Now, PDP Presidential Campaign Council sponsor this message.
Better don land o! Close up toothpaste don carry the senior brother of Awoof enter town. When you buy 140 grams close up, you go get free 25 grams close up complete fresh protection with no extra cost. That is to say, for every 140 grams close up red toothpaste wey you buy, free 25 grams close up complete fresh protection dey there for you. Make una rush am as e dey hot before e finish. Close up, stay fresh and protected.
Ẹ̀yin tèmi àtúntì gbèdé o lójú ẹsẹ̀ tó ń gbóná pẹ̀lú ìfilọ́lẹ̀ Glow Festival of Joy. Ayé
ayẹyẹ tó yílẹ̀ ayé yẹn padà látọwọ́ Glo ní.
gbàgede tó kún fún àwọn ẹ̀bùn jàǹkànjàǹkàn fún jíjẹ.
ilé tuntun lọ́nà ogún.
ọkọ̀ tuntun 24.
ẹ̀rọ ọgọ́rùn kan tó ń pèsè iná.
ẹ̀rọ ìrọṣọ 2 ẹ̀rọ afẹ́tẹ́gùn tó ń gbaná sára ẹgbẹ̀rún kan.
àtàwọn ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà ẹgbẹ̀rún ẹ̀bùn tó ká màmá.
ṣáà ti tẹ *611# láti darapọ̀ mọ́ wọn kó o sì jẹ nínú ìfilọ́lẹ̀ Glo Festival of Joy. ra dátà tí ó tó ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà ọgọ́rùn-ún náírà lásìkò ìfilọ́lẹ̀ yìí. ó dẹ̀ lè jẹ̀bú ilé tó o bá dẹ̀ ra ìwé ìpè tàbí dátà láti ọgọ́rùn-ún sí ẹgbẹ̀rún 10 náírà lóṣooṣù lọ́sẹ̀ẹsẹ̀ àbí lójoojúmọ́. wà ní àǹfààní àti jẹ ẹ̀bùn ọkọ̀ ayọ́kẹ́lẹ́ tuntun kan pẹ̀lú ẹ̀bùn tó ká mọ̀mọ́.
má lọ jókòó tẹ̀tẹ̀rẹ̀ má nà gẹ̀rẹ̀.
tẹ *611# ní báyìí láti darapọ̀ kó o dẹ̀ máa jẹ lọ àdéhùn àti àsọtẹ́lẹ̀ ó ń bẹ o. Glo Unlimited.
When something correct go show, we go see am well well. Color correct. Now we time to choose wetin correct for Naija. Color correct. Light wey no get head, e correct. Nah, e no correct. All the promise and fail, e correct. Nah, e no correct. Stable power supply, correct. PRP and color, correct. Color, correct for the people. Now here we need make Naija for the correct. Color, correct for the people. With PRP party with the golden key. Color correct for the people.
Vote the correct team of Kola Abiola and Haro Zago for president and vice president.
PRP victory.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
All right, you're welcome back, and you're still on Break It Dawn, and it's still 32 FM 94.9. My name is Gbolabo, Famous School, and of course, here we also have the Daily Sun this morning. The Daily Sun newspaper also has the big story here. It says, I'm not perturbed by G5 governor's plots. That's what Atiku is saying. And of course, above the template, it says, Rain of Tears for Obiozor as Amaechi's burial hold, February the 16th. Right at the bottom strip, it also says alleged terrorism more drama as court bars DSS IGP from arresting Amefele.
All right. Okay, Dr. Professor Olojodoku is right on the line. We'll be engaging and looking at the headlines together this morning. Prof, good morning to you.
Yeah, top of the day to you.
Okay, great. Let's take this one from Punch newspaper. UK meeting. Aggrieved PDP governors demand Tinubu support in 5 states. The 5 aggrieved People's Democratic Party governors have demanded the support of the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Tinubu for the PDP governorship and senatorial candidates in their respective states. They had a meeting, in the UK. I don't know if you're privy to that, but what do you make of this?
Well, my understanding is that this is part of maneuverings. They're trying to maneuver and they're trying to operate from their similar position of strength. So the question has to be, who is stronger? Is it Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Ashiwaju, or is it these 5 governors who simply have refused to support their own presidential candidate? It would seem as if they want to go the Obasanjo model. What do I mean by that? Remember the AD, where they decided to support Obasanjo for the presidential candidate and expected and demanded and I thought they got the assurance of Obasanjo that he would support them for the governorship. And out of the 5 governors that were fielded, 4 of them, of course, lost to the PDP, and only Tinubu was the last man standing. I'm sure Tinubu hasn't forgotten those lessons. So I think it's a very risky game. It's an wire game they are playing. Some had thought that they would go with Obi, but it's quite certain that they may want to tilt towards the Tinubu side, seeing that Tinubu is a sure, in their own view anyway, they're banking more on Tinubu winning. So a very risky maneuver. Even if Tinubu says they will support them for senatorial candidate positions or governorship positions, as the case might be, there's no guarantee that he can deliver. There's absolutely no guarantee.
All right, so they will only throw their weight behind the candidacy of Bola Tinubu if he assures them of supporting their candidates in the PDP state, right?
Pardon?
Did you get that? I mean, if Tinubu will support the candidates in the PDP state, they will also throw their weight behind his ambition.
Yes. I think that's the expectation. It's quid pro quo. You scratch my back, and I scratch your back. But as we've seen before, there's no guarantee that if one side delivers, the other side will follow.
All right, Prof, let me take you on this. The project consultant for Elisha Water Project, Tawa Williams, on Thursday said some members of the Osun State House of Assembly demanded a bribe of $5 million from her. Now, how do you react to this?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not surprised. Let's be very careful. There's no evidence of this allegation. There are allegations that have been made. But in the past, we've heard that most projects, either at federal or state level, are only passed when you grease the palms of the legislators. So this is not a shock. This is not a surprise, but it's very disappointing. But you also have to realize that she's responding to the fact that the governor has said that the project which should have been delivered, which should have produced some water, is yet to produce anything. And the governor has put an embargo on the project. So some might suggest that she's making these allegations because she hasn't delivered. While some will say that that's usual practice, that you have to give something back if you want to get something. And it tells you the state of affairs in this country, that nothing works except through or via corruption. And it'd be rather unfortunate. I would expect this to be investigated. The police or the relevant EFCC, what we call them, the ICPC, to investigate and find out whether this is indeed true. And I would expect that she would have the evidence to substantiate this, rather than just making it on the pages of newspaper.
All right, the Kano Ishba board has said it apprehended 2,260 people from committing various crimes from January to December 2022. Similarly, a total of 1,269 beggars were removed from the streets of 8 Kano local government areas, out of which 386 were repatriated to their respective states of origin. But they also said about 25 beer trailers were destroyed.
Yeah. That one is usual, the destruction of alcohol, beer trailers, and so on and so forth. But underpinning all this is that as far as there remains social inequality, as far as there are socio-economic factors, as far as we cannot educate our children, find jobs for them, then of course many of them will go the easy road. I think it's a difficult road, but some to them, they think begging is the easier route. And I think what the government needs to do is deal with the root causes first. And once you've dealt with the root causes, then of course you can come down heavy in terms of police enforcement and ensuring that beggars and those that are vagrants around are repatriated or sent back home or wherever they should be. As for the destruction of alcohol or whatever, well, I think that's done on religious grounds, but some people have suggested that if you do that, you must also ensure that the VAT that comes through from the sales of these items should not also be collected by whichever government that is ensuring through the ISBA that these things are destroyed. That some have said is rank hypocrisy to destroy these things, but yet collect the money that's associated with it.
All right, let me take you up on this, Prof. Buhari had said that he delivered on all his campaign promises. And now he's using Ajaokuta Steel as a point of reference. He said it has gobbed $400 million. Now, is Ajaokuta Steel itself not a money-milking monster here?
Well, thank you for referring to Ajaokuta. It was modeled, constructed, and built on the old Soviet technology, which no one in the world uses except the Soviets, now Russia. And it was designed so that the billets would be imported from Russia itself. It wasn't designed to work with our own natural iron ore and so on and so forth. So I think from the beginning, it was designed to be reliant on Russia and to be money gulping. It has gulped so much money from the time of Obasanjo to the time of Shagari, to the time of Babangida, Buhari Mark I, Obasanjo, and it continues. Many people have suggested that just sell the thing for scrap because it's going nowhere and it's not going to get us to the industrialization that we need. As far as the promises of Buhari that he says he has fulfilled, well, I guess that's his own understanding of promises. But many people will say that the promises of anti-corruption, the promises of the economy, the promises of security, for many people in Nigeria. Many people will not be able to agree with the president. But the president is so entitled. If you are marking yourself, you're entitled to mark yourself and give yourself 100%. But I'm sure that more independent observers will not mark him accordingly.
Yeah, is it not, laughable and a bit disturbing that a company of over 40 years is yet to produce 1 ton of steel, having expended so much?
I think what is laughable, you say that when you get into a situation and the situation is bad, then you stop digging. I think what is even more laughable is that we've continued to dig, we've continued to spend, and we've continued to beguile ourselves, that the Ajaokuta is going to be a success. I think what we try to do, they try to do PPP, public-private partnership. They try to sell parts of it off. The reality of it is that we've just been paying salaries, we've just been spending money, throwing good money at bad. And so, of course, it's a failure of Nigerian government policy, not just the initial government of Obasanjo that brought it in, but subsequent governments that have refused, to turn their backs on it and continue to spend humongous amounts, $400 million. If that had been spent on Nigerian university education, if that had been spent on the university infrastructure, we would be Eldorados of universities or cathedrals of universities today.
But how do you suggest we effectively revive that steel company or steel plant?
Well, it's been designed not to be revived. It's been designed to be totally reliant on the Russians. I honestly don't see how we can revive it. I think we should just sell the thing for scrap. Because many governments, successive governments, have tried. You see, except we can produce that kind of iron ore in Nigeria, then what's the point of establishing a giant steel assembly plant here in Nigeria, where we have to rely on importation of iron from Russia? It's not even guaranteed. It's not even sure that we'll get it. And it also means that we have to get the necessary foreign reserve or foreign exchange, as the case might be. So I think my own view is that we should just stop spending money on it. We should just know that we've wasted a whole lot of money and that we should just sell the thing for scrap. That's my own view, because I'm not sure it can be revived. It's designed, not to be self-sustaining. It's designed not to allow us to become an industrialized nation.
All right, let's quickly look at the overhead costs of the National Assembly. Now, looking at the 2023 fiscal year, 30 billion naira for senators and House of Representatives member. What do they want to get out of this?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a bit confused with the figures here, because I know that in previous budgets we spent 128 billion, 130 billion. That's total, from that point of view. So I would imagine that this 30 billion is an additional to that, from that point of view. We must realize that the salary component of these members is not the issue. The salary component has always been quite manageable. The problem we have is the constituency allowance. The problem we have are other allowances, wardrobe allowances, housing allowances, transport allowances. That's where the problem lies. The second and more fundamental problem is that we have two houses of assembly. We have the Senate and we have the House of Reps, which we simply cannot cater for. I think what you do is, when your economy is actually facing hard times, is you look at what you can cut, you look at what you can curtail. And my own view is that even though it will take a constitutional amendment, is that the constitution be amended so that we do not need two houses of assembly, or two houses, as it were. States have only one house. So why can't we have one at the federal level? Some would argue that the reason why it happened in the United States, where we have two, was to balance the small states with the very big states, so that you have representation and you have equity. With Nigeria, we cannot have the luxury of that, because we simply have no money. We don't have extra 30 billion. We are borrowing the money.
Now, what does it tell us about our economy? Now, is there an admittance that we don't have money? Because obviously, from the kind of projects that we've been seeing in the country so far, does it tell us that we don't have money in the coffers of the country itself?
Well, I think the impression of the policymakers or the impression of the legislators is that we can continue to borrow like a drunken sailor. So there's no money necessarily coming in from within, but they think that the foreign capital market will continue to lend us money and so on and so forth. But of course, the lending of money is dependent on a number of factors: your ability to pay back, your ability to pay the interest. So I'm not sure that they are being briefed properly. The executive actually should be the ones briefing them. Is this the same executive that is proposing deficit budgets? I think it should be a fundamental objective of state policy to eradicate deficits. And until we get to a consciousness or awareness that deficit budgets do not do us any good, particularly when most of the borrowing is on recurrent expenditure, not on infrastructure, not on capital expenditure. So I'm not sure there's a realization that we don't have that money. They feel that we can keep on borrowing and borrowing at will. And I think that's quite ruinous for Nigeria's economy.
Now, a yet to be identified man has reportedly died in Oluyole Estate in the Oluyole local government area for your state while queuing to buy fuel at a petrol station in the community. This happened just yesterday.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, isn't it? A lot of these things have to do with, when you don't have access to regular checkups, it becomes a luxury. Part of it is frustration, of course. But if you are checking yourself regularly, your blood pressure, you're checking your state of health, your diabetes, all those things, then you're more likely to survive the ordeal. Quick queuing for petroleum is an ordeal in itself, because what you're doing basically is you're staying in a position that's uncomfortable, you're frustrated because people are there and you don't even know whether you're going to get the fuel or not. So it's quite unfortunate that has happened, but we will continue to see things like this except we have adequate health care and except we are able to deal with these queues. These queues are not normal. There shouldn't be things that we should expect in the country of Nigeria in this season, in this time, and in this age. So it's quite unfortunate that this happened, and I just hope, that the government will respond to this fuel shortage so that we have less of these queues and less disasters or tragedies, rather, like this.
Now, a higher court of the Federal Capital Territory on Thursday barred the Department of State Services and the Inspector General of Police from arresting and detaining the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, over allegations of terrorism and sundry offences against him. What do you make out of this?
Well, this is the second order. The first order initially was when the DSS itself went to the High Court to request that they arrest the governor of the central bank. And this one now is coming from the governor himself, who is trying to resist any attempts for him to be picked up. It's quite a dysfunctional country when the governor of the central bank, you understand, is subject to such allegations and subject to such activities from the secret service, as we call them. I think it shows you that the government is not at one. They are not in tandem. But it also shows you, you understand, that the governor of the central bank has exposed himself. It's supposed to be an independent bank. It's supposed to be independent. And you would expect that anybody in that position would either have resigned or that the Senate would have impeached him, because it's the Senate that can remove him. So it's quite concerning, because it speaks to the Nigerian economy. It speaks to our stability, and it speaks to uncertainty, because if you cannot be sure whether the governor of the central bank is going to be there tomorrow, then of course there's going to be uncertainty in the economy. And of course, we need all the certainty we need all the certainty we can get at a time like this, in difficult times like this.
All right, there's a story here from Daily Trust newspaper. Federal government to rename FIRS Nigeria Revenue Service. What you find is bogus offices, high-sounding titles. I don't know. Little result to show. What is it? Daily Local.
Well, I didn't get that. But what I got was that they've renamed or attempt to rename, or the renaming of agencies. The renaming of agencies, you and I know, is not the solution to Nigeria's problem. What is the solution is making them more effective. And I'm sure that the IRS will say, if you ask whether they're effective or not, they will compare the revenue they've got from last year to this year. Some will say they've made a significant improvement. But that's not the question. The question is that how much of the Nigerian economy is in the black market and do not pay tax. Their duty is to revenue for the government. Their duty is to ensure that the government gets as much as it can from the citizen, of course, without damaging the economy, and ensuring, of course, that the Nigerian treasury is full.
Now, let's look at this Bolanle Rahim's case. It appears that much more expected. Many Nigerians are doubting the fact that sometimes justice has been buried, and individuals who are supposed to get justice when it comes to issues of social justice do not. Now, if you look at the NBA seeking 5 billion naira damages, and of course, there's also Sanwo-Olu is also asking for fair kind of prosecution and open investigations to all of this. Now, what do we make sense out of all of this development? What's the sense we need to pick out of this?
Well, I think all the reactions I've seen so far are knee-jerk reactions. They're asking for 5 billion. It's neither here nor there. I would have expected NBA beyond that to concentrate on the entire restructuring of the recruitment of the operations within the Nigerian Police Service or Force, as we call it. I would have expected NBA to press the government now, that now is the time for the restructuring of the police in terms of state or regional police, whichever case we might have it. Because it is symptomatic, the violence, the killing of that lawyer, Omobolale Rahim, I think is symptomatic of the state of the Nigerian police, the fact that the training, the fact that the recruitment, and the fact that the structure is just not right for Nigeria of this size. I think those are the fundamental issues. Of course, people will be punished. Of course, people will be prosecuted. We're not against that. Of course, damages will be paid. But beyond that, if we don't want it to happen again and again and again, we have to look at these things that I've mentioned. And I think that we are in danger of beclouding ourselves with the headline figures of 5 billion of suspension and so on and so forth, and an open and fair trial. We must go beyond that if we do not want many other Rahims or many other Omobolandes to occur again.
All right, time to observe another commercial break. We will be back.
FM 94.9.
Twisco to support their big dreams. Twisco, power your dream.
Kò síṣẹ́ kò sówó, ebi ń pa mí, àìsí ìdáàbò, ìjìyà ojúmọ́, náírà kí ló dé? Àsìkò ìràpadà Nàìjíríà dé. Bóyá PDP, òkùnkùn dí mọ́lẹ̀, ìjẹ Gàrímù, PDP, iṣẹ́ rẹpẹtẹ, PDP, power to the people.
Ìkéde yìí wá láti ọ̀dọ̀ PDP Presidential Campaign Council.
Wait, I get one question for you. Sure you know say better sleep they improve how you dey live. If you rest for better form like Mukafo, you go enjoy your life, you go battle yourself, for play or for work, Mukafo. Now we then they want to, quality guaranteed, Mukafo. Satisfaction assured, medical endorsement, we get them, we don't pay our dues, affordable product, we confirm now, Mukafo, Mukafo na correct, Mukafo na baba, Mukafo na forest, Muka no get our. If you dey talk of comfort, if you dey talk of rest, if you want value for your money, na Mukafo me yo.
Muka, adding comfort to life since 1959.
Crossover sí 2023, òróró Olutayo. Lọ́lọ́run Sáàmù Olúwa ló máa dà lé ọ lórí.
Orílẹ̀ tí Jésù ti jí sí àmì àti ìyanu ojúkorojú yẹn. Adámímọ́gò Jesus City la máa gbàrí kọjá sí 2023. Nínú pàdé májẹ̀mú ọlọ́jọ́ mẹ́ta àgbáyípo láti Friday 30 December di Sunday 1st January 2023. Bàbá Adámímọ́gò Prophet Sáàmù Olúwa Ọlọ́run ti sọ fún bàbá láti dá òróró ojú rere lé gbogbo èèyàn lórí. Anointing for excellence. Ọlọ́run sọ pé gbogbo ẹni máa farahàn. Òun máa báwọn dá májàmú tí tayọ fún ìrìn àjò 2023 o. Ọ̀pá wòlíì májàmú jẹ́ súnmọ́lò. Bísí aláwìyé àlùkò. Olúwa ló ní bísí. Àwọn ló máa léwájú olórin ẹ̀mí. Prophet Sam Olúwa bàbá Adámímọ́gò. Wọ́n á máa dọ̀rọ̀rọ̀ tí tayọ lé gbogbo èèyàn lórí. Ààyè one-on-one counseling tó máa wà. Wákàtí nínú àdúrà máa jọ. CSC Adámímọ́gò Jesus City. Ìbàjúlẹ̀ kí ẹ̀pẹ́ expressway. Ìlàmìjà village Aláró City làwọn ti pàdé. Ìwọ ló máa sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀rí eléyìí gbà bẹ́ẹ̀.
Ǹjẹ́ ti gbọ́ Waka Now Travel Fest ti padà dé bíbà ní nínú gbogbo oṣù November ní bẹ́bẹ́ yóò máa lọ. Wá jẹ́ gbádùn àwọn ìdúnàdúrà tí kò lẹ́gbẹ́ fún àwọn arìnrìn-àjò lórí owó ọkọ̀ òfurufú, ilé ìtura, visa àti àwọn ìpèsè fún ìsinmi. Kàn sí www.wakanow.com báyìí láti kópa nínú àwọn àrígbádùn tó jọjú wọ̀nyí. Tàbí kó ṣàbẹ̀wò sí àwọn ojúde ìrìn-àjò wa ní Bond Mall, Ventura Mall àti Base One Plaza, Ring Road, Ìbàdàn. Gbangba ti dẹkùn. Wakanow, gbégbègbè, gbéra.
32 FM 94.9.
We're back, 32 FM 94.9. The lines are open, 0809 7000 949 0705 5000 949. Good morning. Hello.
Yeah, good morning to you, Tayo.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lady Bola. How are you?
Good morning.
On the issue of the East government, as a matter of fact, East government has the right to throw their weight behind any president that can give them their choice. But they cannot decide for Nigerians. Let them go ahead. And this so. This is see what? I will have God shall be done definitely. Thank you, have a nice day.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Do we have a caller here?
All right, 009 7000 949 0705 5000 949. We take comment on Facebook. Hope the Kogi blast was not targeted at Buhari like that of 2001 in Lagos, which was alleged to have targeted Obasanjo. Joel, by we go to your message. Let's see another one here on Facebook. Good morning. I have always known that the budget for 2023 fiscal year is an organized paper of corruption, as far as I'm concerned, because it doesn't reflect the realities of Nigeria of today. How can a budget be run on loans but be having 81 billion naira on fleet of maintenance? Okay. Tolu Lokpediemi, we got that.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning. I'm David Abalade from Ojo. Hello.
Go ahead and make your point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the state government. They are wasting their state taxpayer. Going London, holding meeting every time. They will fail because they can't tell me to go and to follow their conscience and vote for Tinubu. I can vote for anybody I like. They will fail. Thank you.
All right. Hello, good morning.
Yes, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, together. And Prof, good morning. I want to thank you to Mr. President. At least, Tayo, he said all his campaign promises, he has fulfilled it. Actually, then, if we look at it, in other words, what he told us was he was going to push a lot of people into poverty, because that is one of the what we are seeing now. And I also asked, which other ones has he really fulfilled? Well, thank you, Mr. President, for fulfilling all your campaign promises. And please, on asking the court, asking that Emefiele should not be arrested, I actually want, I don't know, Prof might be in a better position. Maybe Prof will say is what they put on the table. That's why they gave that. I remember Tayo Odili in Rivers State, in a layman's way, where the court said nobody should ever arrest him or question him. Probably if Emefiele had been, so maybe he would have heard one or two, would have come in to explain his own. But I don't really understand the courts and what we hear in this part of the world sometimes. Good morning.
Thank you, okay, for that. Prof.
Yes, the Emefiele situation basically is that he's contending that there's no basis of no prima facie case to pick him up to arrest him. I think the court is entitled to interpret it and to give him a judgment in that respect. But if the AFCC or whatever it's called, the DSS in this case, as is in this case, want to pick him up on other charges, then they have to substantiate it and they have to be sure. I think it's because of his status. Ordinarily, if he didn't have such status, he would have been picked up. But the governor of the central bank does not have immunity. He can be arrested at any point in time that the law enforcement deem fit. But they just decided on their own to go to the courts. And he himself has decided to go to the courts to protect himself. He's entitled to do that also.
All right. Good morning. The G5 demand on Tinubu seems an impossible demand. It will be interesting to see how things develop. Olutayo and Obamiro there on Facebook. There's another one here. I hope the inaugurated Ajaokuta Steel project said by President Buhari that it will create 500,000 jobs and generate 1.6 billion naira annually is not another scam for Nigeria, because we're still expecting a functional refinery promised to commence in December of this year. Okay, hello.
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 Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Kindly speak up.
Yeah, my name is Chris Ogboli from Olutayo.
All right, Chris.
Hello?
Go on, Chris.
Okay. Now, I want to say those who said Buhari did nothing and they failed in everything, I hope they will not pass the second Niger bridge. And I do hope that they are not using the Lagos Expressway, Ibadan Lagos Expressway. There are so many other things. I don't know why Nigerians are always complaining about our leaders. They will do something, and at the end of the day, they will say they did not do anything. But later, when somebody has come in, they start praising the person that he actually, his time was better. The same thing we did to Obasanjo, he did nothing. And later we start saying Obasanjo was the best. The same thing to Jonathan. I don't know what is wrong with our people. I mean, we should learn to praise our leaders where they did well and where they did not do well. Let us say it. Instead of just say they did nothing, they failed in everything. Thank you very much.
All right, Chris Ogboli, thank you. Well, Prof, you heard what he said there. We'll come to you, but let's take this call. Hello. Hello. Well, the caller is there. I thought we should go back to Prof. Yeah, Prof.
Yes, I sort of lost contact there.
I want to take you on the caller, the position of the caller there who said, also reacting to another caller that Buhari has done nothing, and he referred to the second Niger Bridge and also Lagos Ibadan Expressway, and things like this.
Yeah. I think let's be very fair. Let's be very fair to Buhari. He spent almost 8 years. I think it would be impossible to say he hasn't done anything. Of course, he has done some things. But you remember that when the APC came in, there was a wave of expectation, very high expectation, that they would surpass the BDP, that they will achieve this and achieve that. There were specific promises that were made. And many people are now suggesting that these specific promises have not been fulfilled. Security, economy, anti-corruption. I mean, these are quite evident, even the ASU strikes, even fuel queues, all those things were prevalent during the Jonathan era, and they promised they would take them away, and so on and so forth. So there are a number of things that this government has failed on. So it would be wrong to say that this government has succeeded, but it would be wrong also to say that this government has achieved nothing. They've achieved something, but at what cost? That's the question, at what cost?
Now, there's also, something that bothers me personally. And I think I should ask you, in Nigeria, what you find often is, yesterday is often better, than today, and today is better than tomorrow. And so we refer to people who have, ruled us, okay, and the things they've done, like the caller said, you feel that this person has not done anything. By the time another ruler comes, it is almost the same thing. So it's like we're talking about better yesteryears or better yesterday, and it also speaks to the quality of those that get to, public offices in this country and the result we get.
Yes. I think I gather what you're saying. But my own view is that the yesteryears, which are better off than the years that succeed, may be prevalent in other countries. But I dare say that in Nigeria is getting worse. When I was young, when we first came back from the United Kingdom, I was young, 1973, 1974, they hardly took power. We had regular power. We had pipe bomb water. Education was at high standard. The hospitals, the teaching hospitals worked fine. Security, yes, there was some insecurity, but by and large, it was fair. Those were the yesteryears, But it seems as if the subsequent years have made it worse, from that point of view. So I think our own peculiar experience is that it's getting worse. Governance is getting worse, at least in the last 20 or 15 years. So we may not be able to share from that narrative. That things, get better as each generation or each year passes on. And I think you said it. It speaks to the quality of the people that we're getting to office. I don't think there's an improvement on the quality of the people we're getting to office. I think there's a depreciation in the quality.
All right, let's take this. Ogunade Adekunle from the Facebook. And he said, I hope the inaugurated Ajaokuta Steel project said President Buhari that it will create 500,000 jobs and generate 1.6 billion naira annually is not another scam for Nigeria, because we are still expecting the functional refinery promise to commence in December of this year.
Unfortunately, Prof, we need to leave the studio now. Jaria Moda on Facebook, thank you for reaching out. Okay. And there's also saying, wishing a happy birthday to one of us.
Thank you.
Adenike Ademoagun, today is her birthday.
Yes. I join you.
So, Adenike, happy birthday to you from all of us here.
Happy birthday.
Wishing you all the very best in your new year. I am Olutayo Ogunade. Thank you for listening.
And I'm Gbolabo, famous school.